Creative Assembly recently gave me the opportunity to play a demo of Total War Warhammer 3. Big thanks to them for that. And in this video, I break down all the new units I saw for both Kislev and Khorne. I've got a video releasing alongside showcasing the survival battle in its entirety, so be sure to check that out as well. Before we get started, keep in mind this game is still in development. Stats you see here are by no means final, so don't think too much about specific balance. Instead, we should see them as what role Creative Assembly intends for each unit to fill. I'll show each new unit's card and also show a Warhammer 2 unit for comparison. We'll start with Kislev. Winged Lancers. My bias towards heavy cavalry shows as we start with one of my favorites, a unit I was very excited about. These are your basic shock cavalry, squishier than Empire Knights but pack a much better charge. They're also quite a bit faster, excellent leadership as well, which brings us to the Kislev passive. Below 50% HP, all units gain plus 16 leadership, helping them survive those tough engagements. Bowing in next, we have another unit type I'm a big fan of, hybrid missile melee infantry, the Kossars. These Kislevits bravely wield bow and axe in defense of their homeland, comparable to Free Company militia. They're decent melee fighters while also having a ranged attack, though they are armed with bows rather than pistols, meaning they have pretty good range and can hold their own in combat, at least against lower tier troops. To stand against the tide of demonic horror, though, we need something a bit heavier. Enter the Tsar Guard. These high-tier defensive infantry are tasked to die honorably for the Ice Queen. Could be compared to other mid to high-tier defensive infantry, for example, Marauder Champions. They have good armor and melee defense, relatively low offensive stats, but excellent leadership to hold the line. I really love the design on these guys with their kite shields and their sabers. They look like they're ready for action. Question is, what Tsar do they guard? Or better, Tsarina. Bringing us to, of course, Katarin, Warhammer's new badass babe. Proving fashion and function can blend beautifully with her fur outfit. She's got magic damage and frostbite. I saw her on foot, in quotations, although really she slides around on a magical ice sheet. Very solid weapon strength and combat stats. Great leadership as well. Compared to someone like Draika, she's got a little bit more of a balanced stat line, but with less armor and more weapon strength. A formidable melee combatant, it seems. She may be pretty squishy, but can definitely dish out some serious pain. No pushover by any means. And of course, carries the brand new Lore of Ice. Let's take a look at those spells. Ice Sheet, first, is a large area of effect slow, somewhat comparable to Gorkle Fix-It from Lore of Littlewah. Heart of Winter is a 4-stage damage and speed spell, similar to Dwellers Below, but successively getting more damaging and more speed debuffing over time. Crystal Sanctuary confers 66% damage resistance on a friendly unit, but locks them in place. Frost Blades, a nice little buff to melee attack and both armor piercing and base weapon damage. Ice Maiden's Kiss is your cheap breath spell, comparable to Wind Blast, and Death Frost is a direct damage, doing massive damage to a single target, somewhat similar to Fated Buna. The Lore passive effect every time you cast a spell for 11 seconds gives plus 15 armor and plus 12 missile block chance to all allies on the map. She also comes with the Frost Fang Bound Explosion with 2 charges, and something new for all single entities I saw in this battle, the Wounds trait. So when single entities go below 50% HP, they lose 20% base weapon damage and armor piercing weapon damage, and 10% speed. Again, the numbers here aren't final, but I love this change to help bring single entity units more in line with multi-model units in terms of losing power as they get damaged. Great new mechanic to see there. She also comes with the item, the Crystal Cloak, giving 22% damage resistance while she's casting. Not incredible, but decent. To overcome the tides of chaos, we'll need reinforcements, and what better than the ever-flexible Horse Archers. I know, wow, what an inventive name. They do exactly what they say, dudes on horses with bows. They're fast, they have good range, Decent melee stats, melee damage and missile damage, okay charge, pretty straightforward. They're horse archers. Pretty close to something like Illyrian Reavers, a bit above mounted yeomen. But maybe you're more a boom and bang than bow type person. Then for you, my friend, I have the Streltsy. I love the high fantasy feeling of their gun axe design. Great all-around armor-piercing hybrid unit. Streltsy are sort of like you took a Thunderer and a Ranger with great weapon and kind of smashed them together. They've got armor-piercing melee attack, but they've got guns with similar range to Thunderers, pretty decent armor as well, and definitely one of my personal favorites from the demo. What's this? You want more hybrid missile melee infantry? How about giving those Kossars spears? And they did just that. Kossars with spears, a little bit lower melee attack but higher melee defense, gain bonus versus large and charge defense against large. Unfortunately, Lothern Seaguard will no longer be the unique unit they were before, but Kossars are noticeably a step down from said Lothern Seaguard. Yeah, you know, all these regimental troops are nice, but we need a hero. And bears, of course. How about a hero riding a bear? Welcome to the Patriarch. Now, ignoring the potentially problematic lore about the Great Orthodoxy, leave it to Games Workshop to be Games Workshop, this faithful fighter and his beloved bear reminds me somewhat of the Empire Warrior Priest, but with armor-piercing weapon strength and some slightly different abilities. First is an area of effect heal, and notice on this that it's a percentage-based heal, rather than a raw healing number like what we have currently in-game. He's also got this, Urson's Roar, plus 36% charge bonus and 8 leadership, only lasts for 9 seconds, which is extremely short time, but ideally you have him lead your winged lancers, for example. Pop this, get that extra charge bonus, and get some really good value. Now let's do a hard 180 back to hybrid infantry with the Ice Guard. These were teased by Games Workshop some time ago. They're finally realized now in Total War Warhammer. These ferocious female fighters fight fire with cool ice, but they can be compared to the Sisters of Averlorn for the High Elves. Armed with glaives, they've got charge defense against large and anti-large armor-piercing weapon strength. They also deal magic and frostbite in melee and with their missile attacks. Their missile attacks non-armor piercing. Very cool looking unit. Love the high fantasy of the ice bows as well. But it's somehow about to get even better with these next few. First, the Griffin Legion, clad in glimmering gilded armor. The Griffin Legion deliver devastating deluge of thundering hooves and couched lances. These upper tier shot cavalry are a step above the winged lancers and bear a lot of similarities to Knights of the Blazing Sun. Similar speed, charge bonus, though they do not have the fire, damage, and magic resistance. They, like the winged lancers, also cause fear. The shot cavalry is cool and all, but I hear you also like big guns. No, not big uns, big guns. Now, how about Little Grom? A big boar born by bears on enchanted ice. Hilarious. Probably the most meme unit I saw here. It's sort of like the steam tank. It's a single entity artillery piece that also has some characteristics of a chariot. Anti-infantry armor piercing, damage in melee. Not really a charge bonus. I mean, 25 is something. 40 melee attack as well, and 105 armor, long range, hard-hitting cannon attack, and understandably, this thing also causes fear. How about bigger bears, though? Doesn't get bigger than this behemoth of a bear right here. The Elemental Bear is your massive top-tier monster, on par with something like a mammoth. 600 weapon strength, frostbite and magical damage. It's also unbreakable and has a breath attack plus physical resistance. Relatively slow, same speed as a Hydra, also 90 armor, which is pretty good. The unbreakable thing in particular makes this guy potentially very dangerous, but only 20 melee defense means he'll also take quite a bit of damage from low tier units in a surround, so you gotta make sure to keep him supported. Now, this is undoubtedly very cool, but I saved my absolute very favorite for last. Oh yes, War Bear Riders. Because Winged Hussars riding bears is everything I ever needed. These powerful monstrous cav could be compared to Demigryph Knights, but their lower model count makes them more like monstrous infantry, so I'm choosing to show them alongside Minotaurs here. They've got the same weapon strength as Minotaurs, currently at 110. Much better armor and even faster than the Beastie Boys. Of course, better leadership as well, but similarly low melee defense and actually less charge. These are your heavy hitters, and for me in the survival battle, they definitely carried me in the late game boss fight, supporting the bigger elemental bears against the boss. There is one more, that Ice Panther thing from the trailer. I don't have any more info yet on that, but we'll have to watch for the roster reveal together to get more information about it. So far, what we've seen from Kislev is a combination of hybrid missile melee and shock cavalry with limited infantry and some monsters, which feels like a faction created specifically for me. I can't wait to see more about them, but one thing is certain, I'll definitely main Kislev in multiplayer. In Game 3, at least until the Empire gets added, which by the way I have zero information about, so don't even ask. I do have information about Khorne units though. Keep in mind the HP scaling is kinda off due to this being a press demo, but the stats should give us an indication of the unit's rolls. So begin the bloodletting with Bloodletters. These offensive demon infantry armed with great swords, they are armor piercing and anti-infantry, also deal magic damage, relatively low armor and melee defense, but excellent charge for infantry as well. Bloodletters somewhat remind me of something like Bestigors with that high charge bonus and armor piercing damage. Since this is our first demon, we should also talk about demonic instability. It's like crumbling, but deals considerably more damage. To compensate, demons have higher leadership, making them harder to quote-unquote break. Demons also seem to have higher stats than undead, but I'll need to see more to know for sure. All Khorne demons also have this Hellblade ability. After they get 80 kills, they get an additional 20% base and armor-piercing weapon damage, which I don't think I've seen a straight-up kills modifier before. I really like the lore of this, and it definitely feels very thematic, incentivizes you to get after it and get punching. All demons have physical resistance, and Khorne demons specifically, it seems, have magic resistance, giving them effectively 20% damage resistance. Fighting alongside these demons, the mortal followers of the Blood God come in the form of Chaos Warriors of Khorne. They're Chaos Warriors, but for Khorne, which means they have a bit more of an offensively geared stat line, with less melee defense but more melee attack. They also pick up Frenzy, which is quite nice. Same armor and missile block chance, and same slow speed. Of course, it wouldn't be Chaos without Warhounds, and Khorne's got Chaos Warhounds. They're exactly the same as Chaos Warhounds. So going back to their handlers, Chaos Warriors of Khorne with halberds are, again, Chaos Warriors with halberds, but more angrier. They've got Frenzy once again, and a little bit more of an offensively tilted stat line. And while halberds kill cavalry, Khorne can compete with its own Blood Crushers of Khorne. These armored demon cavalry could be compared to Necropolis Knights, specifically the ones with halberds, since Blood Crushers are anti-infantry. They've got heavy armor-piercing weapon damage and great charge bonus with 100 armor. As they are Khorne demons, they get all the appropriate resistances and abilities, but they are relatively slow. Demons do damage, but they won't be outdone by Warriors of Khorne with dual weapons, sort of like a Chaos Warrior mixed with Norskin Berserker. They've got massive weapon strength with anti-infantry, lowish melee defense, but great melee attack and charge, and have 100 armor, although they are substantially slower, being the typical Chaos Warrior 28 speed. The true champion of Khorne, though, is of course the Bloodthirster. This flying, yes, flying offensive monster, almost like a flying Shaggoth to be honest. Armor-piercing anti-large, flaming magic damage, great charge bonus, low-ish melee defense, and medium armor, but also quite fast. Causes terror, obviously, and you'll also see down there the little winged icon is basically a new tag for flying units, and you'll also note that it has the wounds as with other single entities we've seen. Since this bad boy has fire damage, gives us an opportunity to talk about a new mechanic. Fire damage now has a contact effect that reduces healing received for about 10 seconds. But great to see they're implementing some kind of mechanic to better represent how fire damage works in tabletop, and also to give some counterplay for healing as well. We have a few more minions to get through, both major and minor, including Exalted Bloodletters. These are more Bloodletters, but with higher weapon strength, charge bonus, and just all around stronger. Not 100% sure if these guys were specific to this battle or if they'll actually be an option for Khorne's roster, but their more elite stats are a little more on par with something like a Hargoneth Executioner. Flying fast above, Chaos Furies of Khorne are flying infantry, sort of like Harpies, but with a more offensively focused stat line. Got a little bit more weapon strength, 110 speed, as they are Khorne demons. They of course have the appropriate resistances and also gain frenzy. Stronger still are the Skull Crushers. They're like the Blood Crushers, but rather than a Demon Rider, it's a Chaos Knight. They have heavier armor as a result, all the way up to 130, which beats Demigryph Knights. They are slower, with just great stats overall. Awesome melee attack, weapon strength, and charge, especially with Frenzy. Now, it's not all melee face smash, just mostly melee face smash. If you want to sinfully snipe from afar, the Skull Cannon will satisfy. This Red Riding Demon Yeeter is another artillery chariot. Again, only real analog currently in game is the Steam Tank. Skull Cannon is definitely a tier down from the Steam Tank, has considerably less armor. It's not unbreakable, but it is a demon, therefore it has demonic instability, Khorne demon, magic resistance. Also, magical fire damage regenerates ammo over time, so don't take that low ammo count as complete gospel. At this point, I am so blessed, I might go full on Spawn of Khorne. Yes, the red one gets his own angry spawn with increased weapon strength over their Warriors of Chaos counterparts, but they also pick up Enrage. Finally, say hello to the hero of hell, the Herald of Khorne. This melee specialist demonic hero reminds me a little bit of Bob in his stat line. He's got solid armor and health, relatively slow speed but great attack, charge, and weapon strength, with lower melee defense but higher melee attack. Definitely going to be a powerful presence on any battlefield. Despite the wacky health pools, we can still learn a lot about how Khorne will play from this battle. Extremely aggressive and hard-hitting with severely limited range and possibly no magic, but having some magic resistance. I'm curious and excited to see the rest of both rosters, to be honest. I love all the units I saw from a design perspective, especially from Kislev. It's a bit too early to comment on balance, as it's all still work in progress, but things certainly look promising. This was an awesome first look at some of what you'll see in Total War Warhammer 3. Huge thanks to Creative Assembly for allowing me the honor of this first look. If you want to see more early access content, be sure to subscribe. Also, please like and share. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.